the Son, and the beloved Holy Spirit. Amen. Please be seated. I woke up this morning and said, this is about leftovers. How many of you like leftovers? How many of you do not? Oh, there's always a few. I grew up with leftovers, although my mother did not call them leftovers. Usually on Sunday we had a big meal. We saw variations of it all during the week. Except for Friday, which was either fish sticks, in those days we honored the Friday, or salmon, but it wasn't the nice salmon you can buy the baby scan salmon, messed up around and spread out. But I like leftovers. And really what I'm doing with my sermon today is talking about leftovers. The feeding of so many people was a very powerful story, so much so that it appears in all four Gospels. That doesn't always happen. We even had the Old Testament reading today with the 2 Kings, with Elijah taking care of the hungry and actually having some food leftovers as well. Whether this act of feeding the 5,000 is a metaphor or actually happened, it doesn't matter. It was a powerful, and it still is a powerful story. And I told you that we would reach the feeding of the 5,000 this Sunday. We skipped over Mark's, but we were very close to it. And I want to begin with a story on this. After all, he's the earliest gospel writer of the four. His gospel was written sometime after the first Jewish war with Rome that lasted from 66 to 70 CE, the Common Era, what we used to call AD. So you're not confused about that. I'm going to compare, I like to compare things as I go through my sermon, so I'm comparing all the different 5,000 stories, feeding of the 5,000 so that you can see the likenesses and the differences. So we'll start with Mark. Remember, leading up to it, the apostles had just returned from their amazing journey by themselves, and they were so pleased with the results of their healing. Jesus tells them to go to a deserted place to have some time to reflect on what has occurred and to rest. This didn't work very well, as we remember, because of all the crowds of people who recognized who these apostles were, and they heard about the incredible things they had done. They tried to get away, but Jesus has compassion on the people who seem to be lost without a shepherd to guide them. So, the rest of the story. It gets late, and the disciples, suddenly returning to student status, they were apostles a few sentences ago, and now they're back to disciples, tell Jesus, "This is a deserted place, and the hour is now very late. Send the people away so that they may go into the surrounding country and villages and buy something for themselves to eat." That seems like a practical suggestion, but do they have a 7-Eleven? Do they have a 24-hour Walmart superstore with groceries? I don't think so. So how could they possibly, these stores and villages, feed all these people? Jesus responds, "You give them something to eat." What? If only the original 12 were there, how could they do this feeding? And so of course they respond, "Are we to go and buy 2,000 denarii?" Now 1 denarius is worth 1 day's wages, so 200 denarii worth of bread and give it to them to eat? Calmly, Jesus replies, "How many loaves have you? Go and see." They come up with 5 loaves and 2 fish. We know there is no way that this is going to work to feed 5,000 people. But look at the numbers. 5 plus 2 equals 7. Remember that symbolic number that means complete, perfect, finished. Hold that thought. Now the instructions. Jesus ordered them to get all the people to sit down in groups on the green grass. And the disciples get them to sit in groups of hundreds and 50s. See that picture in your mind. Jesus then enacts the Eucharistic formula. Taking the loaves and the fish, he looked up to heaven, blessed and broke the loaves, didn't break the fish, that was the next part, and gave them to his disciples to set before the people. Then the 2 fish get divided as well. And all were filled, and they took up 12. Does that number sound familiar? 12 baskets full of broken pieces and of the fish. Now, if there were 12 baskets of leftovers, each disciple would have had enough food maybe to go out and serve others, right? How many were fed in Mark's rendition? You heard me last week. 5,000 men. Again, I ask, where were the women and children? Had to be more than just men there. And in Mark, interestingly enough, this was chapter 6. 2 chapters later, Mark has a second feeding of 4,000 people. It doesn't say men, it says people. And there were 7 loaves of bread that they found and a few fish. For the many leftovers. And how many baskets did they collect? 7 baskets in the second feeding. So we move on to Matthew. Now he is a bit different from Mark's version. Jesus has just learned right before the feeding that John the Baptist was dead. So Jesus alone goes to a deserted place. Once again, the crowds hear about this and follow him on foot from the town. Jesus shows compassion for them and cured the sick. Evening comes and the disciples say, "This is a deserted place, and the hour is now late. Send the crowds away so they may go into the villages and buy food for themselves." Jesus, they need not go away. You give them something to eat. As in Mark, we have nothing but 5 loaves and 2 fish. Jesus orders them to bring them here to him. Jesus then orders the crowds to sit down on the grass. No idea of how many in each group this time. Jesus offers up the Eucharistic prayer by looking into heaven, blessed and broke the bread and gave them to the disciples, who then gave them to the people. And all ate and were filled. And they took up what was left over of the broken pieces. 12 baskets full. Number of people? About 5,000 men, right, Matthew, besides women and children. All right, Matthew. Had there been a shift in recognizing women and children by the time Matthew's gospel was written, in the 80s and the 90s? Perhaps. Now we move into Luke. As in Mark, Luke continues with the excited stories of the apostles to Jesus. This time, however, Jesus withdrew privately to a city called Bethsaida. The crowds do not give up, and they find Jesus, who welcomed them and spoke to them about the kingdom of God and healed those who needed to be cured. No talk of compassion, but we know that with compassion, Jesus cured them. The day again is drawing to a close. The disciples come and say, "Send the crowd away, so that they may go into the surrounding villages and countryside to lodge." Shelter is included this time. "And get provisions, for we are here in a deserted place." Bethsaida becomes a deserted place. Perhaps they have gone outside the city, but that is not very clear. Again, Jesus said, "You give them something to eat." Their response again, "Well, we have 5 loaves and 2 fish. Unless we are to go and buy food for all these people." On the surface, it seems Luke has the disciples offer to do this instead of just sending the people. Luke, written between 85 to 95 CE, returns to the 5,000 men theme, and Jesus orders that they sit in groups of about 50 each. They all sit down, but there's no grass this time. Maybe rocks and rubble, and weeds cover up. Jesus invokes the Eucharistic prayer, and taking the 5 loaves and 2 fish, he looked up to heaven and blessed and broke them and gave them to the disciples to set before the crowd. Set before the crowd, just like in Mark. Were there communion stations set up? Maybe 12 communion stations set up, so each group got up to receive. And all ate and were filled. What was left over was gathered up. How many baskets of broken pieces, do you think? Well, 12 baskets of the leftovers. Not for John that we had today. There's a different entry as well. Right before we get the reading for today, Jesus has gotten into trouble for healing on the Sabbath. When will he learn? There was a long discourse about the authority of the Son and the witnesses to Jesus. After this long talk, Jesus leaves them and goes to the other side of the Sea of Galilee, also known as the Sea of Tiberias, the new Roman influence at this time. Kind of like the changes of the names of the baseball TV stadium, you never know what it's going to be called. A large crowd kept following him because they saw the signs. Remember, signs are miracles in John, and this is extremely important in his gospel. That Jesus was doing for the sick, all of these signs. Jesus goes up to a mountain this time. Another important symbol. Where does Moses find the tablets? Where does the transfiguration take place? Where did the ark rest upon after the floods receded? The mountain. And Jesus sits with his disciples. The Passover is near, that great Jewish festival about the Exodus. The crowd starts to encroach upon them, and Jesus gets specific in John and says, and asks Philip, "Hey Philip, where are we to buy bread for these people to eat?" Jesus seems to be testing Philip for the answer, but notice, Jesus asks the question of the disciples. Now, Philip, being a realist, 6 months' wages would not buy enough bread for each of them to get a little. Scarcity versus abundance theology. We hear it all the time. Andrew shouts out that there's a boy who has not only 5 loaves, but 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. A reference back to when Elisha fed 100 men. Jesus says, "Make the people sit down." We are back to a grassy area, and this one had a great deal of grass in the place. Although no specific numbers to each group. Don't you love the various details we get from each one? We have 5,000, but no reference to gender. So maybe the women and children are back. We are in the 90s now, so maybe there has been a shift again towards inclusion. But don't go to the bank about this. Now, listen to this version of the Eucharistic prayer. When Jesus took the loaves, no looking up to heaven, and no blessing. And when he had given thanks, he distributed them to those who received it. So also the fish, as much as they wanted. Jesus did this. No disciples were told or asked to do it. This act was by Jesus alone. 5,000 people, man, that's a long communion line. Yeah. Went on forever. When they were satisfied, then the disciples get to gather up the leftovers, and again there are 12 baskets filled. Here is the important part to John's version. When the people saw the sign that he had done, they began to say, "This is indeed the prophet who has come into the world." John then adds that Jesus has to remove himself because the people are going to force him to go be king. Now there is that part about Jesus walking on the water, but that's another time. Same basic story in all 4 Gospels with common threads. Taking care of others' needs in this world. When we carry out this act of abundance towards people, even if there seems at times we only have a scarce amount, we have become part of the miracle, the sign of feeding the 5,000. For what we have, we are to offer it up to heaven, give thanks for what we have, even if it seems not enough, bless it, and give of ourselves to God and to our neighbors. If we only understand this much from Scripture, then we are rich indeed. We have the instructions on how to live in this world, and we have the direction we need to follow along on the path that Jesus gave to us so long ago, and continues to give to us each and every day of our lives. Let us pray. From Stephen Shakespeare. God of true abundance, in whom nothing is lost and all are fed, liberate us from meager rations of scarce and grudging love for which we must compete. Show us another kingdom which stills our all-consuming fear and fills us with new hope. Through Jesus Christ, the peace of creation. Amen.